outside our city, welcome. Welcome to South San Francisco. I am Mayor Eddie Flores, and I want to welcome you to our beautiful Parks and Recreation and Library Community Center here in South San Francisco. Before we get started, I would like to welcome some special guests that we have in the audience as well. I'd like to give a welcome to my council members, as well as my Vice Mayor, Mark Gallego. Let's give him a hand. Council Member Mark Nogales, welcome. San Mateo County Harbor Commissioner Bill Semke, welcome, Bill. Former Mayor of South San Francisco and his Pradeep Gupta and his wife Kumkum, welcome. Former Mayor of Colma, John Goodwin. And representing our police force, Lieutenant Chris Devon. Hello, Chris. And our fire chief, Matt Sampson as well. Welcome, Matt. You know, tonight we're very thrilled to host our very own South San Francisco native here, Jackie Spear, who represents us in the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, District 1. We also have a library room just upstairs, and if you haven't taken a tour or visited this wonderful building, please do so. As Jackie was very instrumental in this very building that she helped secure funding for, and we have graciously named a room on her behalf. And she was also here for a ribbon cutting. It's almost now going to be 2 years. But more than that, Supervisor Spear initiates initiatives really aligned with a lot that we have here in South San Francisco. We're grateful for her true pioneering work in affordable housing, in eliminating child poverty, in universal child care, suicide prevention, and so much more. Jackie has been a relentless and fearless defender of our democracy at the federal level for over 40 years. She has represented San Mateo County at all levels of government, and we are very thrilled to have her back here in our own South San Francisco. And she will be giving us a lot of updates as well as some of the resources that San Mateo County has as part of District 1. So I want to give a very warm South San Francisco welcome to our very own Supervisor Spear.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's great to be here. I also understand that your colleague, Councilmember James Coleman, just arrived. Thank you for being here as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't also introduce your librarian, Valerie Summer, who I enjoyed. I'll talk a little bit about that later, but before we get started, I want to point out to you how loyal my staff is, because Katrina Rill, who is my chief of staff, her birthday is today, and she's here. So happy birthday, Katrina. I hope your husband's taking you out to dinner afterwards. Okay, good. All right, so as the mayor said, this is home for me. And Pradeep actually came up to me and said, welcome home, and it felt good to hear that, because I grew up here, as many of you know. I lived on Parkway and went to grammar school at Magnolia, and then Spruce, and then Parkway, was then called Parkway Junior High. But I got so attracted to the nuns when I was in catechism at All Souls, that I told my parents I wanted to go to Mercy High School in Burlingame. Now, what kid tells their parents they want to go to an all-girls Catholic school? But they agreed, and so we moved to Burlingame when I went to Mercy. So, and then I came back here when I first ran for the Board of Supervisors and lived on Stonegate, and lived there for a number of years. My son now owns that townhouse, so I'm keeping it in the family. And so my roots go way back. I remember when the earthquake happened in 1989, I believe. I was at Tan Friends Shopping Center getting my hair cut, and the woman just ran out. So I had what I called a quake cut for a good week. But I've spent just wonderful, wonderful years here, and always love being back. So we've got a program for you tonight. This is really for you to speak about issues of concern to you. Now, when I did the first town hall, and I'm doing them throughout the district, I didn't speak about the federal government that much. But now I feel we can't not speak about federal government because its impact on local jurisdictions like San Mateo County is and could be as high as $700 million. But we'll get into that in a little bit. First though, I have two speakers from the county that I want to introduce to you. First is Sandra Furpo. She's the Emergency Management Coordinator with the County Department of Emergency Management. And I feel very strongly that we need to do more to prepare ourselves for potential firestorms, for earthquakes. And for the longest time, we've had a disaster prep day, which you see the flyer on your chairs. But earlier this year, back in the end of March, I believe, as a result of the firestorms that happened in Pacific Palisades, I thought we've got to do something here in San Mateo County because we have topography that's very similar. So we had a really informative day, and people throughout the county were invited to come, and we had about 500 people there. And you're going to hear from Sandra now, who's going to repeat some of that information, but it's very important information. So Sandra, you're on, my dear.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I also am a South San Francisco native and current resident of South San Francisco, so it's a pleasure to be home with all of you and see so many familiar faces. The County Department of Emergency Management is here to support all 20 cities and 18 unincorporated areas of San Mateo County and to share as much information as we can with the goal of making San Mateo County the most resilient county in the United States, and I'm glad you're all here to help me with that. Maybe if I turn it on a little better. It worked earlier. Thank you. Now it's going too far. Let's try again. So, as the supervisor mentioned, the firestorm in Los Angeles certainly got our attention, and there were some lessons learned from that. You'll see in the photo a gentleman who's carrying his dog. This was someone who had packed their cars and had tried to evacuate, and then at one point, police and law enforcement said, no, everybody get out of your cars, you're not going to make it, run to the beach. That was the situation. So he grabbed his dog, and that's all he could carry because there was no leash on the dog. So things to think about, right? And lessons learned from these tragedies that happen elsewhere, and if they should happen here, we can be a little bit better prepared. And that's our goal. So one of the lessons learned, of course, is leave early. One of the guests that we had at the Wildfire Ready event that the supervisor mentioned was a Palisades survivor. She left 9 minutes before this show. She was able to get out in her car. 9 minutes made a difference, right? So leave early. You don't have to wait for an alert. Plan for your kids. You're not all going to be home sitting around the dinner table when something happens. My husband will be at work and my children will be at school, and we need to know what their school plans are so you can plan ahead and do what you need to do and then take care of them at that point, right? So these are just some things that we learned that we wanted to sort of share with you. You heard a lot about go bags. How many of you have one? Thank you very much. So a go bag, what is a go bag? You heard a lot of it. You don't have to have everything in your go bag. This is something that's going to keep you comfortable for the first 3 to 5 days after a disaster. And the big things are obviously any medication that you take, an extra charger. Don't think you're gonna remember to take the charger out of the wall. Put an extra charger in there. First aid kit. If you have any dietary limitations whatsoever, any allergies, you wanna have something you can eat. Trust me, in those first 3 days, your cities, your county, everybody's going to be doing everything in our power to feed and house those who need it. But the meals we're going to get are probably going to be something from the deli that's open or something from a pizza place that is still functioning, and pharmacies are not going to be able to function easily for those first 3 days. So have what you need in that bag, as well as something to entertain yourself with, because in any emergency, it's a lot of run, and then wait. And then during that waiting time, you need to have a book, or you're sewing, or whatever, puzzle, something you like to do to entertain yourself with. So think about having a go bag. These are some recommended items. One of the items that we highlighted, by the way, is keeping your gas tank at half a tank. That's something that anyone can do. I know it seems like, oh God, I have to go pump gas 1 more time a week. That's okay, because when you need to leave now, you don't want to have to stop at the gas station along with 500 of your favorite neighbors, right? You want to get out of town. So this is something that you may want to consider. We have at the back, by the way, the tables, and I highly encourage you to stop by all the resource tables that we have here tonight. I do have a calendar that gives you a lot of this information and things you can pack in your go bag, as well as your emergency kit. Your emergency kit is something larger, what you have at home, that would last you a couple of weeks. I highly recommend that you register for SMC Alert. Every county has their own alert and messaging system. SMC Alert is the one here in San Mateo County. Information is power and helps you decide what to do, and you want reliable information in an emergency. This is one of those tools you can use. The other thing is know your zone. The county of San Mateo has been divided up into zones because when, if I'm being told that a certain area is being evacuated and it's everybody northeast of El Camino and southwest of Hickey or something, I'm sorry, but I don't know my north from my south on a good day, let alone when I'm stressed. So, if everyone were to know their zones, we could say, hey, South San Francisco zone E0, 2, and 3 need to evacuate. That also rules you out if you know that you're not affected, just as important. So you can look up your address, you can look up your schools, you can look up your favorite community center, you can look up any place that you spend time, your work location, and here's how you get to the Know Your Zone is run by Genesis Protect. It also has an app, but you can also look for it online. Let's talk a little bit about defensible space. We talk about that, or you hear about that, and you certainly think of that as something that happens way out there where people have lots of property. Talk to the people at Coffee Park, or the people in Lahaina, right? They're in a essentially urban, suburban area, and they lost everything. You'll see that house in the corner, it survived. Home hardening, if you've not looked it up, I suggest you do. But defensible space is something that we can do within our cities, and it has to be done in conjunction with our neighbors. We have to work together at not having stuff that is flammable touching our homes. And so here's a recommended area where you want the first 5 feet to have nothing touching your home that's flammable. That includes your wooden fence and your wooden gate. If I switch to this next picture, here's an example, for example, of what they've done. It doesn't mean that your yard has to look ugly. There's lots of different ways. And at Disaster Prep Day, we will have the master gardeners there who are fantastic at landscaping and options that you can do. You'll notice that at the end here where the fence is, it's a metal gate that's making contact with the house. So you can, when people talk about preparation, I know they start to roll their eyes and they think about they have to give up all of their free time and hundreds of dollars to be prepared. You can do one thing tonight. One thing tonight to make you better prepared than you are right now. And it can be one of these things that doesn't necessarily cost you anything extra. So I encourage you to think about that and look about what things you can do and pick up the calendar, the prep calendar that we have at the back table. That'll help you. Disaster Prep Day is free. It is free parking, free admission, free resources, free hot dogs. There is no excuse. Bring the grandparents, bring the kids, bring the neighbors. It's on August 2nd at the fairgrounds at the Event Center in San Mateo. This is the calendar I'm talking about. You can pick one up at the back table. And that's my gang at the county. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you very much, Sandra. You know, one of the other things we learned at the event was always keep a pair of regular shoes by your bed, not your slippers, or in addition to your slippers, because when an earthquake happens and there's glass all over, or you have to run, you don't want to run in your slippers, you want to run in your shoes. So that's a good thing to remember as well. I think Sandra has to go to another event because she's in such high demand, but if you have questions, I will, to the best of my ability, try to answer them. Next, we're going to hear from Sarah DeWitt Feldman. She's the Immigrant Services Coordinator with the County Office of Community Affairs, and there's also a table over there. Please welcome Sarah.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all so much for having me. My name is Sarah Feldman. I am an Immigrant Services Coordinator. I'm really happy to be here this evening and for the chance to share a little bit about some basic Know Your Rights information, as well as some of the many incredible resources that are available to us here in San Mateo County. Now it's a question of if I can get the clicker to work. Okay, so what I'm going to kind of cover real quick, I want to touch on kind of the demographics and context for our county, and then really dive right into key resources, including red cards, which you'll see on the screen, and I imagine some folks may already be familiar with. The San Mateo County Rapid Response Hotline, which is doing amazing work. I want to talk a little bit about family preparedness planning, which I think dovetails really well with everything that we heard from Sandra. And then, as we know, this is an evolving situation and an evolving moment, so ways that we can all stay connected to ensure that we're all standing together and sharing the most up-to-date and accurate information. And just to be totally clear, I am not an attorney. My background is social work. So I'm delighted to be able to share some legal information, but I absolutely cannot give legal advice. So getting that disclaimer out of the way. So in San Mateo County, there are about 745,000 residents. And of those, about 1 in 3 is a first-generation immigrant, meaning that they were born in another country and then chose to make their home here. Of course, many more of us are second, third, and even fourth generation in immigrant families. And nearly half of households or folks in San Mateo County do speak a language other than English at home. About 17% of our county identifies as having limited English proficiency. So as y'all can see, we are a very diverse county with folks coming from all over. And we're actually given the honor of being recognized as a certified welcoming county from the nonprofit Welcoming America. And that process involved demonstrating really a lot of the work that's taking place not only within the county of San Mateo, but all the many incredible nonprofits, organizations, groups doing good work throughout the county, and we're really proud of that because it really reflects what we already know, which is that when immigrant communities are listened to and included, it makes all of us stronger, safer, and better. So with that, I'm going to jump right into some of the Know Your Rights content, and I do want to acknowledge that we're talking about this while we are also seeing on national television that folks' rights are not always being respected. And I believe that we remain the strongest when we know that we have them, and we share that information with other folks. So that is kind of my hope here this evening. There are certain basic constitutional rights that everyone who's present here has, regardless of immigration status. Those include the right to remain silent, the right to be free of unreasonable searches, the right to refuse to sign documents without first speaking to a lawyer, and the right to speak to a lawyer. Now I'm gonna pause there because that's a lot of Bill of Rights, constitutional language, but so what does this actually look like in practice? And with that, I wanna just ask a quick show of hands. How many of y'all have seen the red card or heard of it? Okay, awesome. So we got some folks for whom this is familiar and some folks for whom this is not, which is great. And hope you will all pick one up from our table and maybe take some to share as well. So the red card, it was actually, do we have soccer players in here? Anybody? Even youth league counts. Okay, maybe it's just me. And not since youth league. But y'all know in a soccer game, a red card kind of stops the play. Awesome. Okay, so that is why these cards are red. They were designed to empower folks to kind of pause a situation where something unfair is going on. And so then you're gonna see on the left that on one side of the card, there are instructions in language. Instructions like, do not open the door to someone who doesn't have a warrant. You don't have to answer any questions. And so those guidelines were developed by actually our partners at the Immigrant Legal Resource Center. So those folks are attorneys, they are experts. Unfortunately, the kind of user instruction side has been translated into a number of different languages, many of which you will see on our table. And then there's a side that's always in English, and that side is a message for presumably an immigration enforcement official, just letting them know that the person is choosing to exercise their constitutional rights. And I talk about this stuff a lot, but I don't know in a really stressful moment if I would recall how to clearly articulate all of that. I just don't know. So I keep a red card in my wallet. Presumably for folks for whom English isn't their first language, that could be an additional challenge in articulating that under a moment of stress. So really just, these are for everyone. I always joke, but it's true, that when I have folks over for dinner, I don't let anyone leave without taking a red card. And so I really would encourage everyone, stop by our table, grab one, take more to share with friends and family. They're for folks of all citizenship statuses, because they're rights that all of us have. Any questions on this, how to use it? Okay. Another resource that we've been promoting are family preparedness plans, and actually we have a great template which was also developed by the Immigrant Legal Resource Center, and it really provides some great tools for families with immigration concerns to kind of think through everything from emergency childcare planning to what are the documents that it's good to keep in a safe place. So when I got familiar with this document, it actually inspired me to make copies of all of my important documents and send them to a relative who lives in another state, which my hope is if Sandra was still here that she would tell me that was a good idea for disaster preparedness reasons as well. And I really do like to frame it that way. I think particularly around emergency childcare planning, it's very scary for families to think about that. And just like the go bag, it's so much better to have a plan and never ever need it. So this resource is available in English, Spanish, Simplified Chinese, Tagalog, and Vietnamese. You can scan this QR code. There's a location on our website that I'll show in a bit where you can access it, and we do have some hard copies on our table as well. And then lastly, I want to talk about the Rapid Response Network and the Rapid Response Hotline. So have folks seen, raise your hand if maybe you've seen a poster like this or heard of Rapid Response. Okay, awesome. So the Rapid Response Network is operated by Faith in Action Bay Area with funding support from the County of San Mateo. And they operate a 24/7 hotline that folks who are impacted in some way by immigration enforcement can call for urgent and emergency support. So that could look like dispelling a rumor. We've seen situations here where there has been local law enforcement activity that had nothing to do with immigration enforcement, but given an environment of fear, folks interpreted it that way and then kind of responded from a place of fear. And fortunately, the Rapid Response Network has done an amazing job of dispelling some of that misinformation and supporting folks with accurate information so that they can live their lives, go to school, go to work, go to their houses of worship, and know that they can check in if they're uncertain about something. They're also able to link folks to urgent legal support and orientation in the case that a detention or deportation does occur. And then recently, they have been able to really build up an amazing network of volunteers who can provide accompaniment to people who have immigration court or a check-in with immigration enforcement. So that whatever the outcome of that may be, folks don't have to go through that alone. They're able to put an emergency plan into place and have someone there to support, put that plan into action if needed. Again, it is 24/7. If y'all want to take out your phones, I would really encourage you to save this number. It's 203-666-4472, or for Spanish speakers, easy to remember, 203 No Migra. 24 hours a day, and when in doubt, call the Rapid Response Line. It's staffed by some amazing folks with years of experience doing this work. So you can find all of this information. You can find red cards in multiple languages, Know Your Rights fact sheets that address different scenarios, such as your rights at the airport, your rights at the border, your rights at work. You are able to find Rapid Response Hotline printable materials in multiple languages, and a lot of other resources and links. So smcrapidresponse.org if you want a one-stop shop instead of digging around in different parts of the internet to try to find this information. And so I just have some next steps for anyone who is feeling motivated by this. Go ahead, take a red card, take some red cards to share. You can make a family plan, review the family plan, talk to loved ones about it. Every family situation is going to be different, and it's good to have a conversation, regardless of your family situation. Do we all have passports? If not, how do we get them? U.S. passport, maybe a foreign passport from a consulate. And then Rapid Response. Save the number to your phone and share that number with the community, because as amazing of a resource as that is, it only works if folks know to call. So, again, you can find us at smcrapidresponse.org. This is all of our immigrant services contact information. You're more than welcome to reach out if you have any questions or looking for resources. And I just appreciate y'all so much. And I'll be at my table, so please let me know if you have any follow-up questions.
Thank you, Sarah. You know, one of the things that we realize with persons who are immigrants that they're oftentimes taken advantage of. And recently on the coast, there was a marijuana farm that wasn't paying its workers. So they called the Mexican consulate in San Francisco, and they then called the County of San Mateo, and we were able to take action. We now have a Office of Labor Standards Enforcement in San Mateo County. So wage theft is real, and not paying the minimum wage in San Mateo County oftentimes is violated. So if you know of anyone that is in that situation, we have an office now that provides that service. So, okay, I'm going to give you a little primer on San Mateo County, where the money comes from and where the money goes. But before doing it, I want to tell you a little bit about our county demographics. So let me see if I can make this work too. There. So, majority of people in this county are white. The Asian population is close behind, followed by the Latino community, and then you see that there are 2 or more races at 12% and some other race at 11%, Native American at 1%, and Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders at 1%. Our population is 745,000. Now, what's interesting is to look at the percentage of people who live in our county who are foreign-born. It's 1/3. Now, if you look at the poverty level, this number is actually not accurate, because the poverty level now in San Mateo County is one person $100,000 a year. That's how expensive San Mateo County has gotten. So the poverty level, the federal poverty level is $30,000 a year for a family of 4. We now live in the richest county in California and the 4th richest county in the country. We've got 22 billionaires who live here and 5,000 people who make $4 million or more a year. And yet, we've got 30,000 kids living in poverty. So part of my goal in coming back to the county is to address that issue, which I will talk to you about a little later. All right, so where does the county get its money? So I can't see those numbers here, and I don't have a chart for it. But the fund balance is the unspent balance of a budget in the county at the end of the year. So it's general fund money that is unspent. So that makes up surprisingly a lion's share, in part because we've had trouble. Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you. Anyway. Okay. So the fund balance is about 33%. Property taxes represent about 21%. And then the intergovernmental revenue is 20%. That is the money we get from the federal government and the state government. So imagine how much that might shrink in this fiscal year. Followed by charges for services and fines and forfeitures. So lion's share of the money comes from property taxes or unspent money from the general fund. Okay, how do we spend that money? Oh, we don't spend it. Slightly out of order, but these are the biggest property tax payers in San Mateo County. Pacific Gas and Electric. So for all of you that get upset about your PG&E bill, as I do every month, remember that they're the biggest taxpayer in San Mateo County, followed by Genentech, Gilead, and then a number of LLCs, Google and Facebook. Oh, you're controlling it? Okay. Go ahead now. Next one. All right, this is how we spend it. $1.5 billion is spent on what's called non-departmental services. So that's IT, facilities, repairs, debt service, elections, retiree pension, or I should say retiree health benefits, or the Child Health Initiative. The health system is another 1.3 billion. That includes not just the county hospital, but all the behavioral health or mental health services we provide in San Mateo County. And what's happened over the last 20 years or so is that behavioral health services has almost eclipsed the cost of running the county hospital. So what does that tell us about mental health needs in the county? Now, one of the things that I want to do in August is have a special study session just on behavioral health, because we have to have a handle around those services. And then under community services, the planning department, our park system, the library system, the public safety communications system, the Department of Emergency Services, capital projects, and housing. And then you see the criminal justice system, our county jail, our sheriffs, 557 million. Social services, that's the human safety net. So that's the services that are provided for people who need food stamps, or people who are young children who are in foster care. All of those services come under social services. And then administrative and fiscal is 289 million. Okay, now let's look at the federal government. All right, here's where the problem is. So much of what is in the federal budget is mandated expenditure. So Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And then you have defense discretionary and non-defense discretionary. So non-defense discretionary are all of those other programs that the federal government is engaged in, and then other mandatory at 16%. So as you can see in the next slide, what's happening is that the mandatory spending and interest costs, that's the interest on the national debt, is squeezing discretionary programs. So what do we have to worry about? Well, we have to worry about the fact that right now the administration is operating as if it's a monarchy. We do not have a Congress that has the power of the purse based on Article 1 and the power to create tariffs. It's not a presidential power, it's the power of Congress, and they're not exercising the power that they have. So the cuts that we've seen through DOGE that have been absolutely destructive have happened without authority. So you've seen all the lawsuits that have been filed. 96% of the lawsuits that the president has filed have been determined to be not in his favor. And the judges who made those determinations were 80% were Democratic judges and 70% were Republican judges. So you cannot say that somehow it's political. The justice system relies on the Constitution and the federal statutes. So I don't know if you've heard the term taco. Oh, you all have. How about that? That's a new word. So the president didn't know about it till he was told about it at a press conference recently. But for those of you who don't know, it's Trump always backs down, or always chickens out, I should say. So the tariffs have not been felt to the extent that they will be felt if he is allowed to move forward with these 25%, 40%, 150% tariffs. It is truly going to impact each and every one of us. I really believe that Congress has abdicated its responsibilities, and I think that all of us in the community have to speak out and speak up. Sitting around and wringing our hands will give you not only an ulcer, but it is a perceived acceptance of what's going on. So I urge you to get involved. Now people say, well, what should I do? Well, there's a lot of things you can do. You can participate in protests. They do have an impact. Now I don't want you going and burning up a Tesla vehicle, but protests are powerful and they're important. I want you to get a burner phone. Do you know what a burner phone is? Burner phone doesn't have an area code. And I want you to call red state Congress members and senators and tell them that you are unhappy with what they're doing. I want you to look at opportunities to reach out to your family and friends across the country who you never talk politics with and engage them in a conversation. And don't get upset if they don't agree with you. I have a brother who's a Trumper. So, but you have to engage them. If you ever turn on Fox News, you know that it is an organ of the Trump campaign now. It's nothing, I mean, there's nothing fair and unbiased about it. It is really harmful to our democracy. So, beyond those kinds of things, I think that you need to engage with others in the community. In the grocery store, at the library, anywhere where you are with people. Don't be afraid to talk about saving this democracy, because it truly is at risk. The cuts to NIH are profound. And if you just saw today, the Make America Healthy Again document that they put out obviously was done by AI, because the citations don't even exist. I was told by the district attorney who was at a conference recently that there was a presentation. The most significant case in the history of this country is Brown versus the Board of Education. And it was an 8-0 decision. Now, if you ask ChatGPT, was there a dissent in that case, it would come back and say, no, there wasn't a dissent. But if you ask ChatGPT, tell me about the dissent in Brown versus the Board of Education, it will spew out a dissent with cases being cited and everything else. It's called a hallucination. So we basically had a MAHA report by the Secretary of Health and Human Services basically go to ChatGPT and put something out that was totally false. That's what we're dealing with. That's why we've got to ask the questions. You know, the other thing I'm truly very troubled by is the grifting that's going on. The Emoluments Clause in the Constitution says the president cannot accept gifts without the approval of Congress. So now there's this $400 million palace in the sky that he wants to accept for himself that will take another 800, I don't know what the figure is, $1 million to retrofit it, because it could in fact you know, have some intelligence implications to it. So one of the more recent ones was in Vietnam. Most exports from Vietnam come to the United States. We are their biggest trading partner. 46% tariff was imposed, and the country froze. So what happened next? The Trump Organization, the two sons go to Vietnam, and the Prime Minister pens an agreement with the Trump Organization for a $1.5 billion luxury real estate development with 3 18-hole golf courses. And then, of course, there's the meme coin. The Trump meme coin generated $350 million for 54 wallets. You can imagine whose wallets they enriched, right? 750,000 wallets lost money. And then he spikes it right before his inauguration, and then he spikes it again, trying to get people to show they're the biggest investors, and he'll have a party for them. I mean, this is a corrupt presidency. So I don't think it's acceptable for us to just sit around and wring our hands and hope for the best. Now, in terms of the cost of this additional $3 trillion or thereabouts, is going to not just cost Medicaid, and we're looking at substantial impacts. Some 7 million people will lose their Medicaid, and here's someone right here, thank you for coming out for us, will lose their Medicaid coverage. Another 6 million will lose their Obamacare coverage. So if any of you are on Obamacare, you may be at risk. So that's healthcare. It's been said that the largest loss of healthcare in the history of this country will happen if the House bill were to be signed into law. For the work requirements that they're asking about, 2/3 of those on Medicaid already work. And if they're not working in jobs, they're taking care of loved ones or they're sick and can't work. But now we're going to create this other layer of enforcement that's going to require them twice a year to establish that they are working. So I'm really deeply concerned about all of this. Now, some may say, well, why did you leave Congress then? Well, it was because it was time to come home and it was time to pass the baton to a new generation. But having said that, it wasn't time to silence my voice nor yours. And that's why I'm asking you to do that. So, now it's all yours. All of you who want to ask questions, we have a microphone that we're going to bring to the center, and I will answer any of the questions that you have. How much time do we have left?
We started a little late, so we should start about half an hour?
It's 7:20. 7:20.
So we have until 8? Or not? Until we finish. Okay, that's right. I don't like standing behind the podium. Anyway, okay.
Hello.
Hi.
So I'm one of the people that would lose my health care. I have mental illnesses. I have mental illnesses. My next level would be Obamacare. I've been dealing with a lot of unemployment. But that's not what my question's about. Hey. I just read in the Mercury News that was talking about how Santa Clara and San Francisco County are leading some of the fight against the current administration. And I wanted to say, where the hell is San Mateo County?
Very good question. You will find out next week that we are joining in that amicus brief.
Fantastic. Because we have to be together.
We've been preoccupied with another issue in our county.
Yeah, that was just a quick second. What's happening with our sheriff?
Well, I'm not in a position to talk very much about it because we serve in a quasi-judicial function with this whole process. And let me explain this to you. Every law enforcement officer in California has what are called POBAR rights, Police Officer Bill of Rights. And if they are brought in for some allegation, they are given this notice of intent, and then 5 days later, they are presented to either the sheriff or the police chief, who makes a determination that allows them to give any feedback about why they should not be terminated. That decision has been made. The individual who has been alleged to have committed an offense can then appeal it to yet another hearing officer and be given 30 days for that process. So everyone thought that by passing Measure A, that somehow the board would have the power to fire and the board could just do that. It doesn't work that way. So the process is going to go on now for about another 3 to 4 months, I would say. And because we have to act in a quasi-judicial manner, I can't really tell you about my views.
I was expecting not to hear about the views, but it's good to know that progress is being made on that, since that was a $400,000 election.
No, it was a $4 million.
Oh, $4 million, even better. All right, next
Okay.
person.
That was decided before I got on the board, I might add. Okay.
Supervisor Spear, thank you for coming tonight and holding this meeting. My wife and I live in Pacifica. You're familiar with Pacifica?
Very good. Now, why aren't you at the town hall in Pacifica that Sam Licardo is having? Oh, it starts at 7:30. Okay.
Yeah, there was a conflict there. I was going to go to that, and I heard about yours, and I have
Decided
some.
to come here. All right. I love that. I'll tell
Yes.
Sam that.
Well, I met him before the election, and well, other things too. It's just too much going on. I was hoping that maybe he could coordinate his calendar with you. You can coordinate your calendar with him, and then we could attend both meetings. Be easier.
Well, he did say, we texted this afternoon, he says, now we've got to really make sure our calendars are in sync in the
Okay.
future, so that won't happen, this won't happen again.
Okay, all right, good. Two things. I want to add to your comment about the issues with the Trump administration. And one of the things that's very important, as well as the things you mentioned in attending protests and getting involved and writing letters and making phone calls, is we need to become informed, and we can't rely on the legacy media anymore because of the lawsuits that the administration has put on the legacy media, the television, the news companies that are stifling their reporting. And there are very excellent, impartial, accurate news sources that are available on channels on the YouTube channel. Also, the Guardian newspaper from England is a very good source of information about what's going on here in America. I don't want to just list off all the numbers, but the names, but you can go on YouTube and pull up something like the Brian Tyler Cohen is one channel, very excellent. He interviews lawyers that are working on these federal cases that just took place in North Carolina and the other ones dealing with Trump. And the YouTube algorithm will bring up other similar sites for you. The Midas Touch is another good one, but there's, if anybody knows more of these, just tell your neighbors tonight, because that's where we need to get our news. We can't just turn on the TV anymore. You have to look at other sources. And
I have one more to add to your list. It's on Substack. And Heather Cox Richardson does a really wonderful job each day of kind of linking not just what happened today, but the historical reference. And it's very, very good.
Chop wood, carry water.
Chop wood, carry water.
Okay, I didn't know about that. Okay.
That is excellent, and Robert Reich is very, very good.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, the other question is living in Pacifica, we're very much aware of the need for housing, and there's the discussions about getting more housing, and we're under the state requirements to provide more housing. And I'm all in favor of more housing. It's an important issue. You're familiar with the
RENA numbers?
I'm sorry?
The RENA numbers, that each is RENA.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the geography of Pacifica, we are limited to our transportation along Highway 1, and we recently, talking about the safety issues earlier, we had a tsunami alert a couple of months ago, and thousands of people were trying to leave Pacifica at the same time. It was a bumper-to-bumper parking lot traffic jam along Highway 1, and we have a bottleneck between Rockaway Beach and Valleymar before you get to the freeway heading north out of town. Currently, there is a proposal to build 1,000 homes in the area of the Rockaway Quarry, in that area between Rockaway Beach and Valleymar. That road there, daily during commute hours, is very jammed. It's a bottleneck there every day, and then on weekends, especially in good weather, it's jammed with people wanting to get out of the heat of the interior. They come down to the coast, they have to go down Highway 1. We're very concerned about the impact that development would have for our safety in case we needed to leave, as well as the everyday inconvenience of just trying to do our everyday business. If there was 1,000 homes, be 2,000 cars trying to get in and out of that area.
What's your question?
The question is, if there's anything that you're aware of that we could use, because the developer is going to use the builder's remedy to bypass the city council's denial of building on that property. For decades, the citizens have discussed this. We've had meetings with the city council, planning commission, and all of our proposed developments have been turned down for various reasons, particularly the safety of the citizens regarding the traffic. If there's something that in your sphere of influence, we can address this situation to protect us and still leave open other areas for development, I'm all in favor of that, but I don't want to allow this development to come in and make a situation that is dangerous now, it'll be critical. That's my question.
Okay. I think the issue, well, you've got a number of issues that you're talking about. Everyone familiar with a builder's remedy is? No, okay. Builder's remedy is something that's been created by the state legislature, that if in fact you have what they perceive to be a recalcitrant city that isn't meeting its RENA numbers, that a builder can come in and doesn't have to comply with any of the regulations. So it's a real, it's a sledgehammer to try and get cities to open up their zoning so that there can be more construction for housing in our communities. I think in your situation, I'm sure that this will probably be in the courts, is my guess. If he attempts to use the builder's remedy, I think it will probably go to the courts on some level, because health and safety is a concern. And unless there could be other evacuation routes created out of that area, which doesn't seem likely, I think that would be a grounds on which building that many homes would be discouraged. But this is new to me. I'm sure Ray Bueller has been consulted about this. I encourage you to talk to some more, Supervisor Bueller.
I will.
Okay?
Thank you.
Well, hello.
I came to ask for help. The city of South San Francisco dropped a light pole in my family's home in 2009. They won't fix it. I survived 15 winters, no hot water, no furnace. I'm a disabled veteran with chronic bronchitis and have to work through kidney problems now. My firefighting efforts have failed. I've cleared 8 lots behind my family's home 15 times in 2023, 5 times last year. I'm now too disabled with my injuries to keep doing this. I'm a Kamala Harris crime victim. I will address that next year. I'm all busted up. I get no help at all from this city. The city leaders all know me personally. The chief building inspector is a friend of mine. The previous one was a friend of mine. They can't get me help.
So,
I'd appreciate some help.
okay, so what is it that you want? Do you want help being able to clear the land around your property?
I want help with all the problems this city has caused my family. They conned my mother into signing her abdication rights away in '95. No work was done. The house is very cold in the winter.
Okay. If you will call my office, we will see to what extent some of the housing resources we have can be made available to you.
There are none.
How do you know that?
They've already tried. The county has sent up 3 social workers. The last one told me to go into assisted living. He told me to sell the house. It's not in my name. He demanded I hire Kathy Kaufman $65 an hour to help organize the house. I'm struggling. The VA raised my disability to 100% for anxiety and anguish from the ringing of the ears. That's equivalent to PTSD. The county veteran service officer, Ed Kurskin, is helping me.
Okay. You could probably get a voucher to be able to live somewhere else.
I own a home in Reno. I will lose it.
Okay, well,
I'm not short of money. I can't do these things myself. These contractors are corrupt.
okay. Well, let's have a conversation offline.
Okay,
on
thank
every
you.
specific issue.
Hey Jackie, thanks so much for being here, and we're so lucky to have you. I also wanted to point out you're doing some excellent work on transportation, and I want to make sure everyone's aware of that. You're serving on the TA board, and I think you're bringing a great, fresh perspective in terms of a lot of the projects that have been in the pipeline for a long time. And I wanted to see, you've made some great statements in terms of revisiting some of the projects that are very highway focused, that they intend to reduce congestion, but we haven't seen that ever happen from a highway expansion project. And these projects will have real impacts on people in South City. There's one planned up here, and then there's one in San Mateo, where the City of San Mateo City Council just unanimously opposed the project, and much of the Foster City Council did it. And personally, I think these projects, they don't achieve the results that we want. They're expensive. They increase greenhouse gas emissions. They increase congestion. They increase danger on our roads and kids trying to walk and bike to school. And it also competes with BART and Caltrain, which are struggling financially, and we're really trying to keep them afloat. So I just want to see what you plan to do in terms of trying to continue to push against these types of projects. And can we do that sooner as opposed to later? We keep hearing that we have to wait till all the data's in, but if we know these projects don't work now, can't we save the tens of millions of dollars that are involved in studying them and focus our efforts elsewhere? So is that something that you can push for?
This is a great example of how when the community starts to speak up, things change. I was somewhat perplexed at a transportation authority meeting that we were moving forward with these, those auxiliary lanes we have on 101. I hate those. Yeah. And who wants to pay $15 to go free access? We don't have the information yet about how much it's generating. I don't know if it's even paying for itself. But they're thinking about extending it from 380 all the way through South San Francisco. And I said, I'm not for that. And I don't know why we're doing an environmental study on it. It's just wasting more money. So what I'm learning is that a lot of things are on autopilot with some of these local agencies. And I think we need to stop and think about it. You're referring to trying to build another lane on 92, which, again, I had questions about. So what's happened, though, as a result of just those little questions, the cities have spoken up. That's really important. It took local community leaders to speak up, and I think it's having an effect. Now, how fast it's going to happen? That's a good question. But I think people are starting to think twice before moving forward with some of these projects that are on auto.
And just to be clear, with the project up here, the 101 one, there's an express lane decision and then there's a widening decision. And there's the option of not widening the highway in order to get there. And of course, widening leads to more cars, et cetera.
I think the widening is dead on the highway,
Okay,
but I don't even want to see that
all right,
expressly.
gotcha, thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Having to do solid. I didn't know about this meeting. I don't know where, I mean, if I should have come here earlier, another day and seen the notes up. When I come to the library, I see them. I don't know who knows, but when everybody was, you started, I thought, where is everybody? This is the town hall meeting, and where's the town? I mean, my neighborhood, I walk past your house every day almost. Here's the, walk my dog. But anyway, and then these papers, I was wondering if there was some way to get those to pick up as opposed to try.
Oh, you mean the
stuff that that came up. But I mean,
yes,
there are more people now playing puzzles at the senior center than I see.
There's more people in the senior center. Should we go over there?
Not now, earlier, for lunch or whatever.
Well, if we serve dinner, I think we'd have a lot more people here. Brings
I
people
know,
out,
but
you know.
I don't know if people run down to the library or wherever to find a note saying we're having a town. I didn't even realize it was a town meeting.
Okay,
I saw your name and then I saw it again because I hung out looking at stuff and I'm glad it came.
Okay,
So
do you have a question?
No.
Okay,
No,
you just
I-
want us to have more people here. Well,
No.
you know, when I had town halls and I was in Congress, we had one town hall where there were 2,000 people there right after Donald Trump became president. So sometimes it has to do with people don't understand county government, so they're not interested in learning about it. But hopefully, we'll see more and
Well,
more
I
people.
know it costs money to send it out.
Well, it's on Eventbrite. If you sign up at the front table, you will automatically get an email when we have the next one. Anything else, continue?
There's a sign-up sheet for the newsletter. If you're not subscribing to the newsletter yet, please do.
I don't have a computer, I don't know how to use one, and I asked them already.
Okay, well, you leave your telephone number and we'll call you.
Okay.
All right?
That would be fine.
Okay.
I do have an email or whatever. It should be fine.
Okay.
But I think there's a lot of people there, and you said something about getting involved and out, demonstrations or whatever. I've heard about one that happened around here, so I don't know where that would be.
Saturdays up at the Tesla in Colma, 2 to 3, every Saturday.
All right, there's their marching order. I want to see you there, 2 to 3 on Saturday. I can't come this weekend, but maybe I'll come the following weekend, 2 to 3 on Saturday.
Yeah.
Good evening, Jackie. I missed you. I used to go to your Senior on the Move.
Well, we're going to do it again. We're starting it up again.
Oh, that's great. Now, there was a comment about, somebody wrote it in the Daily Journal today, about you said about the park. Yes, yes. And I witnessed that years ago. I used to take it back, and the station guy, he was in his kiosk, and he used to see those just people jumping over. He did nothing about it, nothing. And I seen that for many years. I used to take back downtown, and that's one thing. Another thing tonight was addressed here about an emergency, earthquake, blah, blah, blah. Now, where does the people of this area of San Francisco go in an emergency? They have closed the municipal service building. They will not open it. And that is a place where we need to go in emergency. Because where do you go? You don't, there's no electricity. And, so there is the salt. I was working in San Francisco in the 1989 earthquake. The power is out, the gas is off. The manholes popped up off the street. I worked at Sheridan and Fisherman's Wharf for 38 years, and I've seen it all. And we had a backup generator because at least that's for emergency.
Well, this is a fabulous facility, and congratulations to the.
Where is this facility to deal with all the people that will come here and be camping out for 3, 4, 5 days, maybe a week, and so they can get fed and they can get hygiene and everything else.
Right.
So we have a.
I'm gonna just move this away from you. Too close.
Yeah, I wish I had those. We have a building, the municipal service building, that has been there for years.
I know the municipal
And it
service
is
building.
sound, the earthquake, it was there in 1989 earthquake, never did any damage to it.
Okay, so the city council has jurisdiction over that issue, as you know.
But they keep putting it off, they keep putting it off.
Well, some of the members
We
are
do
here.
not have a senior center. We have the school that you went to.
Magnolia.
Yes.
Is now a
Yes,
senior
they
center.
have another fancy name, I don't go by that, and the thing about it is, that was never for, it's not, if there was an earthquake, how would those poor people on the second floor that is handicapped and the daycare that they have there, how are they going to get out? That place should be condemned and torn down.
Magnolia?
Yes,
Okay.
it
well,
was
there-
closed for 10 years, Jackie, you know that, and then they reopened it.
Well, I probably
But
recognize.
anyhow, I want you to do something about a municipal service building.
All right.
Because we have parking, there's no parking here.
All right, that is a local issue. I have no authority over it,
Well,
so.
you can say, as a San Francisco native, you can put your 2 cents.
Okay, I can put my 2 cents in. I'll give my 2 cents to the members of the
There's
council.
no parking here. Over there, in the
Well, this is a very popular place. It's a
We have
beautiful
100
facility,
we have
and we
100
probably need more parking here, but that's for another day.
Jackie, we have stacks of parking and the municipal service building.
Okay, I know you love the municipal service building, but we've got to move on. Okay.
Hang on, Jackie. They have a sign down there that says, additional parking is at 33 Arroyo. That is the municipal service building. If you want additional parking, you have to go past there. Anyhow, I feel better now. I sleep.
Good.
tonight.
I hope you sleep better tonight.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Is there anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, hi Jackie. I'm Dave Carboni, retired county employee, so, and also.
Bless you.
Thank you, and also a resident of South San Francisco. I wonder if you could speak a little bit about what the county's doing about the homeless situation, and I didn't see anything in your, the budget about, funding for that particular issue. Can you talk a little bit about?
Sure, I can. Actually, some of that comes under community services, under housing. But Measure K, which is the half-cent sales tax that you have reauthorized, generates about $125 million a year in the county. And we use a great deal of that money for homelessness issues. It goes mostly to homeless issues and housing issues and affordable housing solutions and the parks. Believe it or not, during the recession in 2008, San Mateo County shut down all the county parks because we couldn't afford them. Now, it was foolish on our part because there was a tree that fell and killed a child that created a huge liability for the county. So I think there's greater recognition that we've got to maintain our parks. So a good portion of that money goes for parks as well. And then one of the other priorities is emergency services. We recognize that we have got to do a better job in terms of building the infrastructure, having the evacuation plans, having everyone know what they need to do. And so much of this is around that. And then finally, it's around children, families, and seniors. We have a large senior population in San Mateo County. Interestingly enough, South San Francisco has only about 60% of the population are seniors. In most other cities, it's 20 to 30%. So you're a younger city in many respects. But to tell you a little bit more about homelessness, I spent the night at Safe Harbor last month. That's our homeless shelter here in South San Francisco, out by Samtrans. I'm about to do a column, probably in the Daily Journal on it, that you can read. But I've got to tell you, I was stunned. First of all, people were all, very interested in wanting to work. 40% of the people there worked. 40%. I slept on a bunk. I met with about 14 people, took notes on all of their experiences. Let me tell you what I found out. First of all, I was alarmed to see that there were so many more women between the ages of 50 and 65. A number of them South San Francisco residents. A number of them with family members in South San Francisco, but they had somehow become estranged. So, for instance, someone who's been homeless for 10 years, works as a cashier at Safeway part-time. She was married, she had a middle-class life, she divorced, she got breast cancer, her life just kind of spiraled downwards. And so she has been homeless for 10 years, working at Safeway. And she told me one story that just kind of blew me away. She says for a period of time, she and a group of her friends would get on the Samtrans ECR bus that stops in Daly City, go all the way down the county, and when it actually shut down at 2 a.m., they would hang around for a couple hours, and then they would get on the 329 bus. I mean, they were living on the Samtrans bus. I had a woman who, so at 4 a.m. in the morning, people are starting to take showers and get up. And at 4:30, this one woman whose bunk was near mine had fixed her bunk very nicely. And she had her little bag, and I said, well, where are you going? She says, well, I do Uber Eats. Think about it. Uber Eats? They deliver the food, yeah. So she delivers food to people. So a homeless person could in fact be delivering food to your home if you order. I mean, I don't think we really appreciate that people are really trying. Yeah. So I'm hopeful that we're going to do a number of things. One is find more job search opportunities for these people in the homeless shelter here at Safe Harbor. Because one young woman was 27. She was working at a nonprofit in San Jose, so it took her 3 hours on the bus to get there. And she was fundraising for nonprofits. And I said, well, how much are you making an hour? She says, I work on commission. And that's not a job that's going to be able to. So most people, a lot of these people just can't afford the rent in San Mateo County, right? So I think our job is to help them get better paying jobs, save some money, and be able to move somewhere where they can, in fact, live a better life. The gentleman who talked about being a veteran, I did this once before, back in 2014, and we actually have a copy of the story there that you can take with you. And this one young man was kind of very unsure he wanted to talk to me. Finally, around 1 a.m. in the morning, he came over and talked to me and said, I had a 6-figure job at Oracle. And then the drugs got the better of me, and I just got out of the Menlo Park VA drug program. And I said, well, that's great. But then he said to me, he looked me in the eye, and he says, you have no idea what my country forced me to do with Iraq. So, another reason why we have to speak up is because veterans are going to be undermined in this budget. There's a reason why they're doing reconciliation. They slam a lot of stuff into it. You kind of focus on one thing over here. Meanwhile, there's all this other destruction going on. So, again, I want you to speak up and speak out. Brian, you have something for me? Okay. So there's about 2,000 homeless every night. 1,200 are in temporary shelters, 800 in public spaces. We have 250 rooms at the Navigation Center, but they're filled, they're totally filled. When I was there at the Safe Harbor, there were 82 people there, and it's both men and women, 82 people there that night. There's 110 or 120 beds.
105.
105 beds. So there was actually empty beds there. So we're gonna do some things that provide more job search opportunities and mental health services, because many of these people have mental health issues that we could possibly help them with. So, at the homeless shelter, well, there's caseworkers there, but I don't think they have the capacity to do the job. Or Job Train is one of those programs in the county that does do that, but we have to somehow engage them.
Because I work for Second Harvest, and we have the food there is like double means to send it over to.
Let me also tell you about Second Harvest. If you have extra money this month or next month, send it to Second Harvest, because the cutbacks that they're experiencing on the federal level through USDA is going to impact them dramatically, because a lot of, but all of the kind of expensive products sometimes come from USDA, and they are having a tough time getting protein and meat. So they need our help. All right, anything else? Yes.
No, I want to say something because the rumors around some city is that immigration is around here and people is scared to go into the church, to the community, to the library, wherever it is. And so many of them told me what they can do, and they say, don't be afraid, right? Like me, I have a citizen like 40 years in this country. And I'm afraid to going outside anyway, because I don't have my passport with me to prove that I'm citizen, Now when the passport expired to me, I pay extra for the card that I keep it in my purse. But I think so it's not right, because immigration sometimes when they ask you, are you citizen? Like me, it happened to me when I crossed the border to Mexico to here. They say, oh, are you citizen? I say, yes, I'm citizen. She say, I just say, no, you are citizenship. And I'm like, I'm saying, what I mean? Because in that time, my English is better now, but in that time, it's not good. My question to you is, we still keeping the card with us, or what we doing? And what we're doing with the community to help them don't be afraid about everything happening. I know the administration of Trump is not good and great affair that people that is scary about the situation.
I encourage you to take some of those red cards, please. Have them to people in the community that you know. So they have 2 or 3, that's okay. Make sure that they know this telephone number, 203 No Migra. That's where the rapid response line is. So get one of those. Let me just conclude by saying, when I was in Congress, I kept 2 documents right next to each other. Well, I kept one document in particular that I would show to students when they came. And it was written in 3 languages. 3 languages. It was written in Spanish, French, and English. and it was a copy from the U.S. Archives. I would say to them, you see, what languages are these? And they would eventually all figure it out. And I said, do you know what this is from? Some would figure it out. Do any of you know what I'm talking about? Think about something that would have been printed as a proclamation in the United States, written in 3 languages: Spanish, French, and English. No, not the Constitution. No. Bill of Rights? No. It was 1803, and it was the Louisiana Purchase. And the point I make when I show this to them is that our country has always been diverse. And let's not forget that, all right? Let me also thank my staff once again, Randy Trujillo in the back, Katrina Riddle. And many of you know Brian Perkins, who is now a volunteer in my office after all those years working on my staff. And of course, Mark Gonzalez, who was on my staff for over 10 years when I was in Congress. So anyway, great to be with you. We'll have another one, probably not in the very near future, because I want to go to each of the cities, but thank you for coming tonight. I really appreciate it.